Given the spate of recent transit nightmares in and out of New York City, all eyes now appear focused on getting a new rail tunnel built under the Hudson River. But politics and money, they remain big obstacles, pitting New York versus New Jersey versus Washington. And for the latest on the Garden State side of this fight, let's bring in Christopher Maag. He's been writing extensively about this for the Record newspaper and NorthJersey.com. Christopher, thanks a lot for a few minutes. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right, before we get into the politics of it, this is kind of a confluence of the worst possible imaginable things for Christie. With all the declining popularity, approval ratings in the state here, candidacy that has not gone well to this point for presidency, and, you know, a tunnel that many people, even though it's certainly not relegated just to New Jersey, people pointing the finger at him saying this could have been avoided with the ARC tunnel. How much pressure is there on the governor to do an about-face here?
I think there's quite a lot of pressure on him, and you can see it in the way that he's communicating. First, his press release before the event that he had with Senators Booker and Menendez and U.S. Transportation Secretary Anthony Foxx, the press release that came out from his office was very angry, saying, guess what? Chris Christie does support a new tunnel, and all of you jerks who are concentrating on his cancellation of the ARC tunnel are focusing on the wrong thing. It was quite an angry message. The next thing that happened was he had that meeting in Senator Booker's office in downtown Newark. He snuck in the back door and he snuck right back out. A lot of us in the press corps thought that that seemed to be his reluctance to be seen with a very high-up Obama administration official at a time when his presidential campaign is really focused on bashing and criticizing the Obama administration.
Talk about the reality of just take the politics out of it. The Hudson River Tunnel, the Portal Bridge here, just how bad are things? And for folks who haven't gone through the commute right now, how bad have the delays been this summer?
Delays this summer have been pretty bad, and they're going to get worse before they get better, Amtrak says. The worst of it was a week in July. There were 4 rush hours in a 5-day work week where people were delayed as long as 3 or 4 hours because there were electrical problems and tunnel and train breakdowns inside and near the main Northeast Corridor tunnel under the Hudson River. And those problems are only going to get worse. We could face delays of weeks to a month in some cases, and when that happens, maximum traffic between New York and New Jersey drops from 24 trains per hour down to 6.
And to that end here, speak about why the reverse. Obviously, we talk about the delays here, but moreover, how much of this could have been avoided if we did go back in time here and went ahead with the project? Were the concerns legitimate on the cost overruns and who was picking up the tab? Because it seemed at that point the momentum was there and the governor pulled the plug. A lot of people say it was because of politics, but was he right about the price tag and about where the money was going?
There are different people who say very different things about the price tag. The Federal Transit Administration said that the $8.9 billion figure that New Jersey Transit was working with to say the total all-in cost of the previous tunnel, called ARC, was unrealistically low. A more realistic number was probably 10 billion, 11 billion. That's still within the realm of possibility. That for a project of that size, that's not that big of an overrun, actually. In terms of concerns about the project itself, people have talked a lot about the tunnel to Macy's basement, and it wasn't really that. It's an oversimplification. It was a deep tunnel. It would have taken a lot of time to get from the trains up to the surface, into Penn Station, and onto New York City subways. So there is some legitimate criticism there, but there were connections, and I think that has been lost in this tunnel to Macy's basement argument.
Obviously absent in that meeting, Christopher, was the New York governor, and certainly the Senate contingent from New York as well. They're balking at the idea, as you've reported over, that they're going to have to take this money in the form of a loan, and they say no way. Obviously, there's less political pressure on them than there are on their Jersey counterparts. Do you think at the end of the day that this thing gets worked out? Does the feds basically have to eat the whole price? Is that realistic? How do you see this thing shaking out, especially with another state here in play?
We know There are more uncertainties than certainties here. The fact that Senator Chuck Schumer of New York has been so passionate about finding new ways to pay for the work that can be done already on this project, Gateway, and is so committed to doing other things to move it forward in Congress, that's a good thing. Lots was made about Governor Cuomo saying, it's not my tunnel, it's not my problem, you guys find the money. The historical precedent for that, he's actually right. New York State and New York City have never paid directly for any bridge or tunnel across the Hudson River. It's all been done through the auspices of the Port Authority. That's one of the reasons why you saw New Jersey Senate President Steve Sweeney say this should be another Port Authority project. They have the authority, they have the funding stream. It's hard to know. I think it will be a very, there's going to be a lot of negotiations between now and for the next 2 years or so on the financing. I wouldn't be surprised if New York City or New York State pays a bit of that. Port Authority will probably play a quite substantial role. And it all depends on what happens in Congress. You know, Congress is moving in the opposite direction. They're cutting the capital budget for Amtrak by $260 million, where they, if this project is going to be happening, it needs to be going massively in the other direction. So at every level of government, state, regional, and federal, you have people who want the project and don't want to pay for it.
Bridges and tunnels causing headaches for the governor. Maybe a little bit of karma. I'm sorry, that was too easy to skip, Christopher. I appreciate the time and great reporting on this. We'll talk to you soon. All right, everybody, when we come back, we will go on the New York side here and Show Me a Hero. As many of you see, the new HBO miniseries airing about all the drama and the anger over the housing desegregation in Yonkers back in the 80s. Well, former Mayor Angelo Martinelli was at the heart of it. He lived through it, and he's here to tell us all about it.